Hey everyone, this is Corine La Font, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and of course, your best and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And today I have with me Dr. Stefan Gravesande. I hope I pronounced that properly. Did I, Stefan?
It's Gravesande. Yeah,
I get corrected and the show I even start yet. Gravesande.
that's okay. That's okay.
Gravesande. Wow, that's a lovely name. But before we get started, I almost forgot that I like to start off my show with being so grateful. You know, I live in a place of gratitude and I am thankful to be above ground today. You know, it's almost the end of the year. I can't believe it. And, well, I have no choice but to believe it. And, you know, it's great to be here this time, you know, because we just don't know. Yeah. So I am thankful. And I'm thankful for you for being here as my guest. And I'm thankful for all the persons who are listening and watching. I'm seeing people liking and watching already. And so thank you for watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Yes. We thank you for your support. And of course, feel free to send in your questions, comments, your hearts, your whatever it is for us to answer you live. Okay, take advantage of us while we're here for the next 30 minutes. So welcome again, Stefan. Let me introduce him properly by telling you a bit about him. So Stefan transitioned from a medical career to entrepreneurship, leading pandemic isolation unit setups and creating efficient healthcare models. As a QHSE Manager, he secured international ISO certifications and recently won a Green Technology Fund grant for a sustainable community-driven tourism model. Through his business, Preqal, I hope I pronounced that properly as well, I might be corrected, and Top Shelf Podcast, he inspires data-driven, purpose-led business growth. And purpose-led business growth is exactly what we're talking about today. But let's get started with Stefan's personal history here, a medical career into QHSE Manager. Tell us what happened there.
Well, first of all, Corinne, thank you for having me on the show. I'm also grateful to be here with you today. I would rather be no place else. So thank you for that. And thank you for all the viewers that are watching. So, yes, I did transition from a medical field into QHSE.
Mhm.
To be quite honest, uh, being my authentic self, medicine wasn't really too much of what I was into. I always felt that there was more that I can be doing, and always thought of having a broader, wider impact on this planet that we are on. So, medicine, as much as you have, it's a noble profession, it's very good to help people. And for a while, that was fulfilling, that was fun, but I always felt that there was something that was missing. So I began the transition while working at a private company
Mhm.
where I was afforded a lot of free time between shifts. So
Mhm.
I basically used that time up to qualify myself in health and safety and quality management. Right now, I have 20 plus certificates and counting and learning every day. I took the habit of the doctors that have to study every day to the quality management field. So I'm learning every day. Yes, and eventually I got into the private sector,
Mhm.
hit the ground running because the first job I had was to set up an ISO system, a quality management system, which I hadn't done before, but I've basically been doing it in theory um, through the courses that I would have been doing.
Mhm.
So, and right off the bat, yes, we went straight into quality management. It was a very fulfilling field. It's something I really enjoy doing. It's a lot of planning, foresight, looking at data, adjusting, and learning as a group rather than learning as an individual. So, yeah.
I heard you said something. You use a number of skills or what you have learned from a medical career over into quality health, which is also medical to some extent because it's quality health. Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to
Yeah.
being in the in a hospital, you know, dealing with a broader outlook and helping probably even more people than probably a doctor would. And
Yeah.
crossing industries, whereas a medical person will probably restrict you. The QHSE gives you a more broader scope. But I heard you use some of the skills. You talked
Yeah,
about the studying skills, learning every day, and you transition that over into QHSE. And it's good to know that you took something from that, some of the traits, the characteristics from that area over into what you're learning now. And that's important in this world where you are able to take skills, take a little from this, take a little from that, and apply it into the world, into your life. Any thoughts about that for persons who may be transitioning or thinking about transitioning or not liking where they are and may want to pursue something else, but are afraid or think, I can't do it. How am I going to do it? What are some tips that you would share to somebody who probably want to take the same journey like you?
yeah. First of all, addressing fear. Fear is always going to be there. A lot of people try to shy away from fear. What my advice would be is to do it afraid, do it scared. You you're not going to get rid of that fear. So
Mhm.
get get comfortable with the fact that yes, I'm going to be afraid to do this. It's going to be very scary. It's something that is you're stepping into fields that you haven't done before. So learn to do things regardless of being afraid of it. The next
Mhm.
thing is if you're in one field and you're transitioning into a next field, it would be wise to use the skills that you've built so far. You don't want all that time that you spent in a specific field to go to waste.
Yeah.
So think about before you make the transition, think about what are the skills that you currently have and how you're going to implement them to make that transition. For
Mhm.
me, one of the good things about medicine and the tough things about medicine is having to study all the diseases, all the bodily systems. Is a lot of reading and learning. So one of the very first things that we did in med school was learn how to learn. So that was the very first skill that we would have had to use, I would have had to use to transition into a next field. And that's what I would advise anybody to do. Learn how to learn first so that you can know, okay, this is the target of what I need to transition into. And this is how I'm going to go about step by step learning how to do it. So yeah, and in quality management, I found a lot of parallels. For example, there is investigations and gap analysis that needs to be done, and it's very similar to when you sit with a patient and you have to interrogate and find out what the root cause of their problems are.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot of parallel overlap.
I love that. Learn how to learn. Dig deeper into that for me because that is actually syncing with what we're supposed to be talking about today. It's actually everything we're saying is leading into purpose led business
Purpose led.
growth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
learn how to learn because we are both entrepreneurs. We're talking to entrepreneurs here. We're talking to people who want to be entrepreneurs. We're talking to people who are asking themselves the question daily: what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? I'm not happy in the field that I'm in. I'm not getting that joy anymore, waking up every morning. I'm not motivated.
Right,
I don't like the person that I am. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm not the person that I am to my wife, to my husband, to my family, to my children, you know. So learn how to learn. As you said, that's one of the first things I would think.
first thing.
You go into medical school. This is just my layman's thinking. And I'm thinking I'm in class and I'm going straight into the body straight into the body. And I start learning about the body parts, what it does, the circulatory system, medical terms, funny things, writing
Right.
strangely. That's what I'm thinking. But you're saying the first thing, learn how to learn. That is very interesting. Help us to understand that concept and how somebody
Right.
can use that concept into a purpose led business.
Right. So you rightfully asked a lot of questions when you asked about learning how to learn. And that is the core of learning how to learn. You need to ask questions. And the very first question you need to ask is, why am I doing this? Find out what your why is, because that is going to motivate you. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I want to make this change? And then that's when you start to talk about how. right? So once you find out what your why is, what your deep motivation, I want to make this change because um, I feel more passionate about health and safety, right? If you're going into a bakery, I feel more passionate about the art and craft of baking. So find what your why is, ask questions. Once you've done that, you get into what the meat of learning how to learn is, and that's how to learn, right? So you want to break down your topics into its smaller components. First of all, you have to pick that topic. Okay, it's bakery, and then or in my case, it was health and safety, and then start with a definition, right? So in that definition, you are going to see what the components and different concepts that need to be learned are, right? Um, and then what we did in medicine, we took a medical approach. It was a group of us. We did a course together on learning how to learn, and we broke it down in scientifically and how human beings learn, the average time span that we have, the length of time that we should be studying, when we should be studying in terms of how our moods cycle through the day, when we have peak energy. So you need to sit and ask, how does my body and my mind work on a day-to-day basis? So when are the time slots that are ideal for me to sit and read and sit and watch a specific video on how to learn? And then rightfully you go into your learning style. Some people prefer to learn by looking at videos. Some people will sit down and read the textbook with a highlighter. Some people prefer to study in groups or by themselves. So you have to find what is the ideal scenario for you before you even say, okay, let me start. So look back at what your methods were and your successes were in the past to see, okay, I can use this in high school. I used to do it like this, or in primary school, or whatever it is. I used to do it like this, and maybe I should take some of those elements.
You know what I'm hearing from that, and it takes me back to when I was doing my first degree at UE. Have you found, and I would love to hear the answer to this, have you found that when you were doing your medical degree, everybody signed up, they're registered in the class, they're wearing their white coat, whatever it is, and they're gung-ho, I'm going to be a doctor. And when they did that course or that program, learning how to learn, and they realize, this is not for me. I am not built for this. Did anybody drop out? Did anybody decide, let me just leave now? And did the lecturers give them the opportunity? Because there are some lecturers that will say, a lot of you are in here, but 10% is not going to stay. Did that happen? Because it happens as entrepreneurs. We would start up something and we would say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And after a while, that thing is not giving us that jush anymore, that joy. You're not motivated to do it. Is it because we didn't do that human assessment, that discovery of who we are? We didn't take the time because there's no timeline to say, well, I have to get this done in a week or a day. Sometimes it takes months or years for you to discover. So were there students in your class who dropped out? And there's nothing wrong with dropping out. There's nothing wrong with stopping being an entrepreneur and starting something else that moves you. So I wanted to understand the, as you say, the parallel, because we're making parallels here with what you're saying, that learning how to learn and entrepreneurship and leading a purpose-led business.
Yeah. So in med school, we did have quite a few people that decided, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. You would have to get into their minds to figure out what their ultimate motivations were in dropping out. But I would think that a person would think, hey, I want to do this medical career. And then you have a picture in your mind how it's going to go. And then you only see how it actually goes when you're actually in the position. And it's the same thing with businesses. You set up a business plan, or you draw a picture in your head or mind map that, yes, this is what I plan to do. But when you open your doors and you start to operate, the experience that you have is not what you expect it to be. And then you might then learn that your level of tolerance for this discrepancy in what I thought and what I want is not there, and your passion is not as strong as enough. And then you find yourself learning then that, hey, I'm more passionate about something else, so let
Yeah.
me pursue that instead of this. And this was a learning experience. Like you said, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with dropping out. Everything
No,
we do is a learning experience.
of
So take
course.
from that learning experience and move forward.
Yeah. Um, I had a thought and it suddenly just went out my mind. But passion is coming back to me. You said the word passion. Where is passion coming from? Because sometimes we feel passion is from us. I have a passion for this. But sometimes it's motivated or it's influenced rather by external factors. I'll give you an example. So somebody becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, when you look at it in their history, their father, their mother, their parents were that. And it's sort of expected that you will just follow that. Same thing in entrepreneurship. Your parents running a successful business and it becomes suddenly a family business. And it is
Right, right,
expected. It is expected that you follow and take over the business. I am doing all of this. And they put the pressure on you. I am doing all of this in order for you to take over. But they didn't take the time to
mhm,
ask you, is this what you want to do? And if you
right,
say that
right,
you don't want to do it, it's like a stab in the front, not even in the back. You know,
right,
stab in the
right.
front. So that passion you're talking about, where is it coming from? How can we discover and to be able to separate and really identify and pinpoint where that passion, because I think this is what happens to a lot of us, Stefan. We may start something and think, this is us. In the learning how to learn, this is us. And then a few months, a few years maybe later, we realize, it's not doing it for me. And then people come at you and say, why you started in the first place? You wasted so much money. No, entrepreneurship is the same thing.
The same
You
thing, yeah,
know,
yeah,
your father, your parents expect you to take over. And if you say no, it's like a big problem. Havoc in the family. They put you out, they isolate you. How could you
right.
embarrass us like that? Help us to
Mhm.
understand that passion. Because you see, we're talking here, people, about purpose led, helping you to discover what really matters to you and to be able to know what matters to you. You have to know where that passion is coming from. Is it really from you? Or is it
Mhm.
really from external factors? Stefan, help us to discover that.
I really love this question because it leads me down to the root cause of any person's passion and
Mhm,
how it is formed. In the scenario that you were talking about, it goes straight to emotional intelligence because you have to know what your environment is and how it's influencing your emotions, right? Because your
mm,
parents, your colleagues, they were going to expect certain things of you, and
mhm,
then you're going to keep those expectations in mind. And sometimes it's not what you want, it's not what your feelings say. I am happy doing this, but my parents are telling me to do this
mhm,
instead. And it evokes a set of emotions in you, right?
mhm,
And that is what you need to pay attention to. And basically, emotion intelligence is paying attention to your emotions and trying to
yes,
understand where
yeah,
it comes from and how to deal with it, right? So you need to examine the things that you are doing. If you're in a specific field, does it feel like work, or are you excited to wake up in the morning, like for this interview? I was thinking about this interview since Friday and I'm excited. I went and get my hair cut, I did my beard, you know, I made sure
okay,
everything was was right, and I'm excited to come to do something like this to speak on
yeah,
this topic.
yeah,
So it's about that emotion that you feel when you're executing
mm,
whatever it is that you're executing. And if you're good at it and you see that, yes, I am good at this, and you get that feedback and you have that feel good emotions and that release of dopamine, that dopamine hit, you're going to keep looking to do that. So that is
Yeah.
basically a physiological breakdown of where your passions and emotions come from as it relates to what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is awesome. I could talk to you about this all day because, I'm thinking going into something that you really don't have a passion for. And I'm sure we have seen people saying you do the things you love, and you wouldn't feel like it's work.
Right.
And how is that related to business growth? Do you think there's a direct correlation? You're a data man, data-driven man. Do you think there's a direct correlation between purpose-led? So you're discovered, it's your passion, this is what you want to do, you're sure about it, it's not influenced by other people, this is you. Do you think there's a direct correlation between what you're really doing that's meant to be your purpose with business growth? In other words, if you're doing that thing you love and it doesn't feel like work every day, even if you probably might never be making money, because people will
Right.
think of success as you're making a profit, you're making money, right? And that leads me to even another thing. What is your definition of business growth? Because it
Right.
cannot be that if you have discovered your passion and it's not influenced by anybody else, that you are also allowing somebody to determine the definition of business growth. So is there a direct correlation with purpose-led and business growth?
Yes, there definitely is. There is financial data to show that. There is also scientific data to show that your mood affects your performance, your academic performance, your work performance. And in the workplace, there's also studies to show that if you increase the morale of the people in your organization, you get better results, right? So as it relates to having a passion and a purpose, and as a business leader, your performance, which is going to have an effect on the people that work for you and the people that you work with, that performance is going to go up the better your mood is, the better your emotional control is. So if you're pursuing something that you're passionate about, like I said, you're going to get that positive feedback, that good feeling that yes, I'll enjoy doing this, and your mood, the way that you communicate with people, is going to be a lot better. You're not going to be grumpy, hey, barking instructions at people. You're going to approach people in a more fun and dynamic way. And there are a lot of studies that show that yes, running up an operations like this will have an increase in the time it takes for services to be delivered, products to be made, and then obviously that has a snowball effect on the financial aspects of your organization. So yeah, there's definitely a correlation.
There are people in businesses that are quite successful, Stefan. They are quite successful financially, whatever it is, because that's how they define business growth. Yeah, growth, the arrow going up, yeah, and everything is climbing, looking nice on the charts. But they're not really
Right.
happy. They're not really happy. And they feel, and they convince themselves, this is my purpose. I am meant to do this.
Right.
Because they feel,
Right.
because that arrow is climbing, I am good at it. Because people tell you that too, you're good at it, you're whatever, but it's not really what you're meant to do. I'm
Right.
trying to, I want you to help persons to kind of quickly understand how to probably make peace with that. If probably people are listening and they're having a problem, you might be very good at something, but it's not making you happy and you could be successful. What
Right.
do you make a choice? Do you decide to walk away from that thing that you're so good at that everybody says he's crazy for leaving that? He was just so
Mhm.
successful. And
Mhm.
he's going to do
Mhm.
what? Humanitarian work out in the
Right.
bushes,
Right.
and aid work. He's leaving that status where he's driving this car. Now he's living in the bush. No, but that
Mhm.
brings him joy. How do we make peace with that?
All right. We first have to understand that not all the time your passion is your purpose. And that is a big thing to try and wrap your head around, right? So you can, for some people, it's the same. Your passion and your purpose is the same, but for a lot of people, it's not. And
It's
what you
not.
have to do is figure out how to define a purpose and achieve it using your passion, right? So
Nice.
your passion now becomes a tool for your purpose, right? So just like how you sat and you figured out, oh yeah, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I like doing. I got this feeling. Then do the same to figure out what your purpose is. The same
Mm,
process go through and say, what is it that I want to happen, and what is it that I want to achieve, rather than what is it I enjoy doing. And then you also have to understand that you are separate from your business. So your business should have one purpose and you should have another purpose. And those purposes should be in alignment. It's okay to have two different purposes, you and your business, but you have to
mm.
think about how I'm going to align that. And
Love.
for the people that are struggling with this, it can be very frustrating, emotional. It can be a whole roller coaster of emotions. What you need to do is understand that it's a process
Oh, I think
and
we
it
lost.
takes time. You have to
We almost
think
lost you.
about
We almost
the
lost you there a
growth.
while ago, Stefan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, we
you just
almost
have
lost
to
you.
think
Could you
of it as
repeat
a
that?
growth process. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm saying that you need to think about it as a growth process and keep a growth mindset, because it can be difficult to have that, to see that cognitive dissonance reappear in your life, where I want to do this, but I need to set a different purpose. So yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about having a growth mindset.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm thinking, so we have people in an organization that's passionate, they want to be there, they know their purpose, they're contributing. And I'm wondering, why would we need quality health people like yourself? Because, how are you going to help us to even probably be better persons in your field? How can they help us to even be better? Because you have the right kind of people in the organization. They're driven, they're purpose led, you're having business growth. How does quality health fit into that type of organization?
Right. So we have to look at the birth of the concept of quality in business, and it really truly relates to the quality of products. The same thought that you're gonna have, hey, I want a high quality piece of furniture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's gonna last, something that is beautiful, something that is elegant, right? So you're thinking about the quality of the furniture. So the birth of the word quality in the business world goes back to even beyond Toyota, but Toyota was one of the people that put it on the map, and a guy named Edward Deming, who basically came up with uh, a refined system to produce high quality automobiles in the most efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
So that idea is today being used to deliver services as well as products, because it's all about what the customer wants and requires from your business. So if you're going to run a business and you want to make it purpose driven, you still have to cater for your primary purpose. If you're running a business, is to satisfy a customer.
Right.
And you need to know how to satisfy that customer. We're talking about learning how to learn. And if you want to learn how to satisfy your customers, you have to know who your customers are in
Wow.
the most extreme detail that you can think of. Only then can you have a roadmap of, hey, this is what they want, and this is how they want it, when they want it, where they want it, why they want it, right? And quality is basically a set of guidelines of how to achieve customer satisfaction. I think that's the simplest way that I could put it. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically a framework for any company, regardless of the size, regardless of the industry, to achieve a high quality product or service that their audience and their customers are going to enjoy having.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that
you
is
know,
the purpose of
mhm.
quality.
I am hearing that, and somehow I think I take it back when I said, Where would you fit in?" I think you fit in everywhere, because I am not seeing, I am not experiencing as a customer quality service when I go and interact with organizations. It doesn't matter; it could be a store. It doesn't matter to a
Right.
ministry department, government. I am not seeing it. I'm not seeing that transitioning down, and throughout the employees, throughout the organization. And,
Right.
we need more people like you, Stefan Gravesande. I need to pronounce it right. You know, and I am also recognizing we are using the word learning a lot. We have to learn the
Right.
customers. We have to learn ourselves. We have to learn, the environment we in. What is this whole thing about learning? When are we going to stop learning, Stefan? What?
Yeah, you should never think to stop learning, especially in quality. They say in quality is you're striving for continuous improvement, but for me it's continuous learning, right? Because you're in a market and let's say for example podcasting. You and I are not the only podcasters about,
For
and
sure.
you're competing for attention from audiences. So, and your audiences that are listening are your customers, whether they're paying you or not, they're your customers, and you're competing for their attention, and you have to continuously compete with persons that are getting better and better, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants to have a competitive edge. And one of the big advantages of quality management is that competitive edge, because if you are continuously learning and your competitors are not, then the customers are going to eventually come to you,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
it's not only the learning, it's the implementation, because a lot of us can learn but don't apply.
right,
That's that's my thing. Sorry about that. Learning but not applying. You know.
right, yeah. So there's a whole framework about quality on how to implement what it is that you come up with. There's a very structured way of going about implementing a quality system. There are
Mhm.
ISO standards, international standards that are 164 different countries came together and say, this
Wow.
is how we're going to do a quality system
Mhm.
internationally. So it's a science-based, again, data-driven
Mhm.
framework that they studied and say, okay, this is how we got the best results. This is giving uh, the best employee morale. This is
Wow.
work workforce satisfaction, customer satisfaction, financial growth. These are the things that work, and they put together a framework. And if you follow that framework, it takes a while to study because it's a thick standard. But once you get it right, you get those benefits that I'm talking about: increased customer satisfaction, financial growth. Your employees are happy, you're happy. It's great.
Could you dive in the deep end? I like jumping in the deep end. I mean, not literally, but I like jumping in the deep end and just doing quality stuff that I believe makes sense to my customers and would make sense to me. And I'm
Right.
saying this as opposed to reading a thick manual
Hmm.
that will make you feel like you're studying a degree, a master's, and a PhD all in one, and
Right.
it can be a turnoff. Can people also
Uh-huh.
attack, and I say attack, quality
Right.
by jumping in the deep end and learn while you're doing?
Yes, so definitely. You don't there is no time frame, there is no legal requirement around the world to say, hey, you have to have a quality system and you have to do it in a specific time frame. You
Mm-hmm.
can learn a lot of the information on your own. There's a lot of resources that are free
Mm-hmm.
online, people podcasting about it. Hint, hint. So yeah, there's a lot of free information that you can pick up and learn and start to implement in your system and see how it works. The whole idea of quality management is continuous improvement. So if you take a
Mm-hmm.
small thing, like for example, one of the first things people do is have a quality policy, which is a commitment from the organization to
Mm-hmm.
do things that are high quality and guarantee customer satisfaction. So if
Right.
you learn how to create a quality policy, then the first step is going to tell you, okay, in a quality policy, I need to have these set of stuff that I am doing, checking for customer requirements, checking for my process, optimizing my process, having
Mm-hmm.
regular meetings and communication,
Mm-hmm.
and coming up with measures for improvement. I mean, those are the basic things that are in a quality policy. So if you can start there and then look to
Mm-hmm.
implement those things in your quality policy, that's a
Build.
simple way
Yeah.
of starting it, right? Yeah, this is simple. You don't have to buy the standard and go through 200 odd pages of very technical terms and then struggle to do something. You can just start with a quality policy.
Yeah, baby steps. And that's
Yes.
why I asked the question, because I know there are people like me who want to quote unquote jump in the deep end as opposed to reading the stick manual, 300 pages. Just that alone, I'm putting that on the side of my bed and sleeping next to it. I am not doing that.
Right.
So I am like, just get in there, just get in there.
Mhm.
Whatever happens, happens. We learn from it and we just go along, and we learn from
Right.
doing. But then probably that's how I learn. There might be
Right.
somebody on the team who is like Stefan, who wants to read the 400 page book. Go, Stefan. Go, Stefan. When you finish, you could come back and tell me what it says.
Tell you what it is. Yeah.
And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah.
with that. It works. While I sleep
Mhm.
next to the book, and I jump in on the deep end, Stefan could be reading the 400 page book and come back and tell us what it says. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
Stefan, let's tell people how they can reach you. And of course, I love that plug a few minutes ago about podcasts.
Yes. Yes.
Podcast
Yes.
that
Yes.
speaks to quality management, which is Stefan's podcast, Top Shelf. Let me just put it in there boldly. Stefan, tell us about Top Shelf and your podcast and how can people reach you.
Okay, yeah. So Top Shelf is a quality management video podcast. It's the first video quality management video podcast in the Caribbean. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we sit and we talk about quality management topics. ISO 9001 is what we're speaking about right now, which is the international standard for quality. And what I do is I break it down into very simple terms for people, whether it is a small business or a large corporation, to take, just like we're saying, baby steps. I give you bite-sized information that you can take right away and implement, yeah, and experiment within your organization and get things done for your improvement in your company.
Yeah, awesome. And how can they connect with you? You're on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Stefan Gravesande. I see you have my name there in the bottom. They can
Yes.
search for that on LinkedIn. They will find me. And then the YouTube channel has the podcast. It's Top Shelf, TOPSHELF. And the
Mm-hmm.
channel is youtube.com at Preqal, Preqal. And you'll find all the episodes. The good stuff is right there.
Awesome. And I also have all your information in the description, your socials, your podcast link, YouTube, whatever it is, you can find them. And of course, if you're following me, Corine La Font, you will be connected to Stefan without a doubt. Thank you so much,
Definitely.
Stefan, for being here. I think our conversation was quite intellectual, don't you think?
Yes, yes, I enjoy having these type of conversations. Thank you for
Lovely.
having me.
Of course, and I want to thank all the people who are watching and listening. I see I'm getting love, and Stefan is also getting love. I see hearts, for the show. They didn't ask any questions, but that's okay. They're probably a little bit shy. And they can ask the questions in the comments below, and we will definitely respond to you. Either myself or Stefan will respond to you. And of course, if
For
you want
sure.
Stefan back on my show, all you need to do is ask. So thank you for the support. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Stefan, for being on Between the
Thank,
Lines.
thank you for having me.